American citizen to have this opportunity to speak to all of you here at the American University of Armenia. I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks and appreciation to Ms. Jasmine Seymour for the kind invitation and for the warmth and hospitality that she's shown over the last 3 days and throughout the past few months, and to all at the university and the Armenian Shakespeare Association who have helped to bring this marvelous conference into being. I'm also delighted to be here on my first trip to Armenia, which is a country that I have wanted to visit since 2007. That was the year that my husband and I relocated from the US to Jerusalem. And I remember how intrigued I was to discover that the old city of Jerusalem was divided into 4 quarters: Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and Armenian. How, I wondered, had Armenia established a claim to its segment of coveted real estate in the southwest corner of the old city? And how had the Armenian quarter managed to retain its almost palpable aura of calm and tranquility, instantly recognizable to those who crossed into it from the hustle and bustle of other quarters? In the subsequent months, of course, I learned more about Armenia's proud history as the world's first Christian nation. And in 2009, when my husband and I took on the task of directing an undergraduate study abroad program in Israel and Palestine, I met George Hintlian, Jerusalem's foremost Armenian historian. Not only was George able to bring the history of the Armenian quarter alive for our students, and for me as well, he also held the keys to the otherwise inaccessible areas of the pilgrimage site, known as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, the site of the tomb where Christians believe Jesus' body was laid after his death, and from whence he was resurrected. With his keys, George could open the doors that led to the cordoned-off archaeological excavations deep within the lower reaches of the church, or the concealed staircases, rough-hewn out of stone, that led to the upper galleries, arched, pillared corridors, normally reserved for black cassocked Armenian clergymen. Now, perhaps you're wondering at this point, what does all of this have to do with Shakespeare? And that's a fair question. In a sense, the image of the Holy Sepulchre holds the key to this keynote. It's the image of a site of pilgrimage that both commemorates a death and celebrates resurrection and continuing life. 2016 is, after all, the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death. Yet death is a word that many of us in the Shakespearean world have gone to some lengths to avoid over the past year. If you look at the advertising for Shakespeare-themed events and conferences in 2016, you'll find repeated emphasis on the notion that Shakespeare lives, that he is still with us, eternally, as suggested by the tagline of the Bibliotheca Alexandrina's April conference, Shakespeare 400, forever and a day, or as they had it in Arabic, Ilal Abd al-Abdin, to the eternity of eternities. And in fact, the global Shakespearean adaptations that I'm going to discuss today are essentially narratives of resurrection, ones that allow for the revival of life and the pursuit of justice and dignity. Our relationship to Shakespeare bears another similarity to the Holy Sepulchre, particularly this year: pilgrimage. For devout religious pilgrims trekking to the church for the first time, the reality can be shocking. It's crowded, cacophonous, labyrinthine. Its walls are blackened with the smoke of countless tapers and innumerable offerings of incense. Your fellow visitors may be loud, pushy, hapless, immodestly dressed, taking obtrusive selfies. Many may speak in obscure languages or conduct bizarre-looking rituals. And the whole experience may actually make you prefer the leafy quiet of the Garden Tomb, which is an alternative pilgrimage site in Jerusalem, one that makes few claims to authenticity, but that does offer a spot for the peaceful, reflective contemplation that some pilgrims expect of the Holy Sepulchre. In a similar way, Many Shakespeare purists often find their first encounter with global Shakespeare, with Shakespeare's texts, as filtered through non-Anglophone cultures, histories, and languages, to lack sufficient respect and reverence for the Bard of Avon. Because while some global authors and translators do venerate Shakespeare's texts, do approach them with a desire to present the words, character, and plot